All right, I'm going to call to order the regular meeting of the Common Council of the City of Platteville on Tuesday, January 27th, 2015, and we will start with roll call.
Eileen Nichols.
Here.
Amy Seaboth Wilson is absent. Mike Den.
Present.
Barbara Doss.
Here.
Barb Stockhausen.
Here.
Dick Bonan's been excused. And Ken Killian.
Here.
The first item we have this evening, if anybody could see the back of this room, you know what it was, because we are blessed with a lot of police officers back here this evening. A ceremonial swearing in of a new police officer.
Good evening. We've got our newest officer, Andrew Weber. He comes to us by way of Potosi. He's a Wallard High School grad, UWP grad, and a Southwest Tech recruit school grad. So got a lot of graduations behind him, and we're very proud to have him become one of our family. So.
I state your name.
I, Andrew Anthony Weber,
Having been appointed to the office of police officer,
having been appointed to the office of police officer,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully
and will faithfully
and impartially
discharge
the duties of said office
discharge the duties of said
to
office
the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Andrew, and welcome. Thank you. Next item is a special presentation by CompuNet.
That's over. Jody's got it.
Okay, we just wanted to come back and do a little update. We kind of
Would-
promised you guys some
Would
periodic.
you introduce, would you
I'm
introduce?
sorry. I'm TJ Carter with CompuNet International, and we provide IT services to the city of Platteville and others in the area, actually. Again, we are here to just provide a really kind of a brief high-level update for you on what we've been up to in the last year. I guess we can click to the next one. A little bit about where we are from a status-wise, first and foremost, from the day-to-day operations and the IT environment. A little bit on the projects that we undertook in 2014 and did accomplish, not 100%, but we did very, very well. There are some remaining issues out there, of course, and then some of the projects in 2015, some of which are specifically intended to, help continue addressing some of the problems that are out there. It's fairly high level, and I will always, throw out an invitation to you folks anytime. If you'd like, I'd be happy to do a deep dive individually or with a group on any of the topics if you want more information. But considering the crowd, I figure we just keep it kind of high level to begin with. Operationally, we have completed a lot of our migration to Office 365, upgraded a whole bunch of the old PCs, as well as implemented a new domain server. And what that's led to right now is a much more stable environment. And that's kind of what the bottom line is. When we were first here, we were holding our breath, and we would be, on almost a weekly basis having to deal with servers that are going down. We still have some problems, but, now it's moved much more to weeks, if not months, where we're experiencing a problem. So it is much, much more stable. We are still supporting a bunch of what we consider with our contract out-of-scope systems. And part of this is that whole discovery there. It's becoming more manageable because now that we know they're there, we've had a chance to get some working knowledge of them. We know what they are, and at least we're in a position to be on top of things as opposed to, gee whiz, what is that? And why do you need our help? We didn't even know it existed. So we are making some good progress in identifying that, and it's kind of funny, no matter how many times you ask people, they don't even know sometimes what they rely on. You only know about it when a problem exists and it needs to be taken care of. But we, in the last year, I think, have a good handle on that. Because of the stability, a year ago, or not year ago, in May and June, we talked about having essentially a full-time tech on site. We aren't doing that anymore. There's some things I think we need to do with the city to improve and make sure the level of of service is still where they need to be. So for example, today, a lot of emails come to a support email address. And what we've done is we've implemented now a website where instead of just going to an email address, it goes right into a database and allows us now to track it on a much more granular basis. Because I will admit, we're human, and sometimes when you have 6 people reading a support email, you know, someone thinks the other guy has it. When it goes right in that database, then we don't have that problem. So these are things that we're taking on and implementing in the very near future to try to do that. But that's just kind of some of the operational stuff. And I hope you guys think it's getting better. I mean, you know, we certainly see from our side of things that it's getting much more manageable, but they're the ones that projects, you know, just it's a couple of pages of things we did get done. You know, the census upgrade, a lot of this was driven by the fact that Microsoft XP was going away. When XP went away, we needed new Windows 7 machines. When we went to new Windows 7 machines, we needed to upgrade software because the new software, the old software wouldn't work with the old operating systems. So it seemed like a little thing of replacing a PC turns into bigger challenges. As part of that, we did some things to restructure how remote access to the system was handled and certain things like that we are hoping is making it more manageable for the plant staff. Oh no, I'm sorry, Census is the water reading system that was a little over. What I was talking about was SCADA, which was the water treatment plant. Too many acronyms there. We've also done some work recently to update and restructure the door access program. Without PCAN, it was required that both the police department and City Hall have separate copies of the same software to control door locks. Now that PCAN's there, we can consolidate that into one system, so we only have one license to maintain, one environment to support, and again, it just makes life a little bit better, faster, and easier to maintain for all involved. So the first thing we did is we've moved the databases from client machines where they didn't belong into servers, and now we've gone and actually consolidated them just fairly recently into one server, and the city is going through the work with the police department to merge the 2 access card databases. The desktop refresh, we think it went really well. You know, we are now 57 out of 61 systems up to Windows 7 or better, which is, you know, quite a huge change from where we were before. I hate to say it, but now Microsoft is talking about Windows 7 going away to Windows 8 and Windows 10. So I just mentioned that because, you know, just when you think you have a handle on it, powers beyond our control start to push other stuff. As I mentioned, we were able to put in a new core server, which handles both the main controller activity for us and is now hosting some of these databases that we had previously hosted on systems that we didn't have quite as much comfort with. And again, Office 365 migration, so now there is no longer an Exchange server on site. It's all hosted in the cloud. Instead of having my documents stored on a local server here, my documents are backed up on the cloud. And we're in the process now of working with each of the departments on their shared folders so that anything they share among multiple people is on the cloud, and there's been good progress there. We all know what happened this summer, you know, with the tornado activity and whatnot. I mean, if indeed those kinds of things happen, and you know, we were supporting Roundtree Commons and that staff there, they were up there, they didn't miss a beat. They were able, well, our network didn't go down either there, which is a different story, but they were able to go home, they were able to go to coffee shop and continue to do their day-to-day activities without any reliance on the infrastructure in the facility. So had some, you know, anecdotal comments from staff saying it's really great. I can do my work at home. You know, I don't have to be at work, and they would do it anyways. But in the old days, it would be copy it and then make some changes and then put it on a memory stick and then bring it back here. Now they just basically wherever they log into, click on my folders, they get the stuff off the same place, whether they're here, the library, if they're taking a trip to Paris or something. So whatever they want to do, it's accessible. The last piece of the puzzle, and we're almost done with that. We didn't quite get it finished at the end of the year, is what we call network restructuring. We're just trying to build a little bit more structure into the network to have the right security in place. A good example is Council Wireless today. If I connect to it, I can kind of get to my servers and other infrastructure. We don't want that. We've got weird things on the network. The HVAC systems on the network, that's pretty common. The sewer plants on the network, you know, it's pretty common because if you need people to take a look at it when a storm pops up and they're not here, they have to get in. But Luke wants a swimming pool on on the network, so he can get access to the swimming pool. So we're doing some things. We really struggled with Luke's piece of it, but we've done some things now to address that and make it a little bit more secure. We did find little things like the HVAC system is on the network and it's really not protected. So anybody that's kind of browsing around here could kind of start messing with our heat right now. And, I'm not sure that's kind of access we want to give them. So we've done some work to try to do that, pull out guest access, put some firewalls in place and restructure things so it's more of an enterprise class network, more suitable with what we can do with a pecan as opposed to some of the stuff that was done in the past. And that, again, that's kind of an infrastructure piece. You're not going to feel a lot of that, but it's important as we continue to go forward into some other stuff that we'd want to do longer term. Any questions on any of that?
Is the Office 365 the same as used at university?
It is, absolutely. It is. Which is strange for the university. They actually went against the system's recommendation of Google Mail to do the 365, but it's a university is showing some leadership and foresight, if you ask me.
What I'm having trouble with is printing out messages from on 365. They come out very small.
We could certainly, for your email account.
I'm through the university.
Okay, well, we'd happy to take a look at that and help you figure that out.
Thank you. I called the help desk.
Well,
Same problem on a different network, so.
we're happy to help you out if you need it. We can put a technician on remotely or something and get that taken care of for you or whatever is convenient for you. So I'd be happy to drop your contact info or Larry or someone else can get it for you. Because that's an easy problem to solve. Any other little questions on some of the projects? I think we got a lot done considering, everything in there. Some issues, there are still some issues. The one is we're still working on what I call interdepartmental governance, which is getting all the various individual IT needs on the same table together so we don't end up with two door lock databases again in the future. We started to take some action. That's not that it's being fought. We had some work to do to get to the point just maintaining and getting stability. And we met with Larry and the chief right at the end of the year, started to get some rings rolling, holidays came, and people were out of town with the vacation. So we're at, it's not that there's a lack of wanting, it's just that we've got to get the process going now that everybody is back and grounded and that kind of stuff. One of the things that scares us, that's why the fingers are crossed there is one server we just can't get into. We can get into parts of it through databases and things that aren't good, but we can't get into the server itself. And it is a key police department server. So that is one that we're putting a lot of focus on right now and hoping in the next couple of days, call it a week or so, that we're actually have that problem behind us. But it does give us some pause because, these are the things what you don't know. And if we can't get in there, it's hard to know. And nobody seems to have any decent credentials to get us in that one. We'd still like to proceed with some printer consolidation here. There are a lot of little printers out there, and Senior Center has like 6 of them. And what it does is it just, the more that kind of little stuff is out there that just starts not to work, the more it becomes a task for us to support. More support, the more cost. And the other thing is if you really do a managed printer environment, you can really take a look at what people are printing and then start to manage that more closely. So it's not a huge issue, mind you, but it is something and that does continue to cause us little gotchas every once in a while. I mentioned there's a lot of stuff that's kind of out of support in our contract. It was a 2-year contract. I mean, we're kind of choosing right now to continue to just kind of take it on as best we can. It's getting easier as we get through certain pieces of stability. So, what's out there, but there is a lot of complexity in this organization, and the police department, I'll tell you, is a lot of it right now. And the more that we, get closer to what they're doing and whatnot, I think the more that'll come together. Backups are still something that we're not comfortable that we're doing enough with right now. And it's getting a lot better because, again, any of the My Documents, any of the shared folders that have been implemented are backed up on 365. But if we can't get into a police department server to figure out what's going on inside it, it's hard for us to assess that thing's being done right. So these are areas that, you may have met Amber. She's kind of the one that takes full responsibility for the sport, loses some sleep at night. And yeah, again, but these are things that are planned in next year to really attack pretty aggressively. And I will say that these are things that when we did I don't know if you all had the privilege of looking at the plan we developed a year ago, but we are proceeding pretty consistently with that plan. And again, then we just get to these little issues of money and budget. There's probably more to be done than budget has. So that's why, though, getting into the governance going, we think is important, because it allows us to really not only talk about priorities, but we can also talk about business value. And hopefully the value will drive priorities, right? I mean, there are things we can do that can actually save money. And if we can get those on the tables, that might free up resources to do more things. So that's going to be something we'll be focusing on next year. So 2015, again, formalizing the IT governance processes, and then, as I discussed, prioritize and fund the projects that are out there. And a lot of them are little miscellaneous things, and there's a lot of different things that go on here that are complex. We can get a grant to put in a new projector. The police department can get a grant for body cameras. I mean, there's lots of things that if we're working really well together, we can find ways to leverage and get more bang for the buck. So it's just that kind of stuff. And, and then it's, we're working with the PCAN team there to try to see how the city, the school district, the hospital, the university can actually even try to get more bang for the buck if a community, because I know right now, a lot of the investors there are like, well, we put money in, it just costs us more. Well, let's figure out how we can do more and interesting stuff. And I do think there are opportunities to do that. Another thing next year, though, is the phase 1 wireless. We are still running a fairly insecure and what I would call home-grade wireless throughout most of the city, and we're going to try to address that this year. Definitely storage and backup. Formalizing a little bit the disaster recovery and continuity plan. A lot of that we want to kind of wait to gain. Part of the beauty of working through 365 is we're getting a real intimate understanding of the information and what's out there, whether it's stuff that's in shared folders on the police department servers and video, and that'll give us the discovery we need to go through and really come up with the right plans for that. And then there's kind of the city financial software. That kind of went through an interesting process last year, I think and it is still on the plate to go attack again this year and find the solution that everybody and particularly the city finance team really takes ownership and buys into and says that is the right answer for everything we're trying to do. So, any questions on that?
Questions?
A lot of information, I would say most of it's good.
We're making progress. There's work to be done.
That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, no, I think we're making progress and there's work to be done. But like I said, just when we get done with Windows 7 to have Microsoft say, start thinking about, that's just the nature of the beast. So.
And I think there are financial constraints to the amount of things we can get accomplished as well. And that's important to note. You can only do so much in the budget that we have.
Right.
But I feel a lot better than we did a year ago. And the people, I know our guys that support the network again are feeling a lot better about things. And again, the fact that the systems are more stable, right, guys?
Yes, they are.
I mean, I think that's huge, and that is, that's what we look for. So, okay, I'll turn it over to the next.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be back in a few months.
All right. The other special presentation we were planning on tonight was from Platteville Business Incubator. Unfortunately, Mr. Ed White has let us know that he is not well this evening, and so he is not able to do the presentation, and we will reschedule that. Next item is consideration of the consent calendar. The following items may be approved on a single motion and vote due to their routine nature of previous discussion. Please indicate to the council president if you would prefer separate discussion and action. First item is minutes from the January 13th, 2015 regular council meeting. B is payment of bills. C is appointments to boards and commissions, and this evening, the appointments that I have are for what we refer to as the Platteville Transit System Joint Committee. And the people that are going to serve, at least some of the people, there will also be some representatives from the university, but these are from the city. Robert Pastor, he's from Southwest Health. Art Boulou, who is from the Platteville Public School System, Andy Custer, who is a citizen in the community, Gary Engelke, a business person, and Barb Stockhausen has agreed to be the council representative on that joint committee. And those meetings will be posted, so you can take a look at that, and you're welcome to attend. They are public meetings. Licenses, 1 and 2 year operators licenses are in your packet. A temporary Class B license to St. Augustine University Parish for the Newman Banquet on February 7th, 2015 is included, and also a request for a permit from the fire department from 3/9/15 to 3/30/15. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Nichols?
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Den?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Stockhausen?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Next item is citizens' comments, observation, the petitions, if any, and I have one request this evening from Rich Christensen.
Thank you. I'm Rich Christensen, and I live at 10 South 3rd Street. The following statement appeared in last week's Platteville Journal. Quote, "City resident Rich Christensen accused at-large alderperson Amy Seaboth Wilson and Director of Public Works Howard Crowfoot of steering the process so that only one bidder submitted a bid for taxi and shuttle service, and for favoring UW Platteville, Seaboth Wilson's employer, in creating an agreement between the city and UWP for shuttle service." Unquote. That statement is untrue, and I don't know why the Platteville Journal made it. I did not say that, and I do not think that. Amy Seaboth Wilson and Howard Crowfoot had nothing to do with only one bid being submitted for the taxi service and one bid for future shuttle bus service. And the shuttle bus agreement between the university and the city favors neither party. There are just too many unanswered questions. Only time will tell if the agreement turns out to be fair. Watching the Common Council work is sometimes difficult. The way issues are handled and decisions made can be disheartening for those paying close attention. But I should try to be more understanding of the Common Council. My disappointment and frustration is no excuse for some of the things I did say. I apologize to the Common Council for exceeding the allotted 5 minutes for citizen comments at the last meeting. Reading 2 pages out loud in front of an audience took longer than I expected. Some of the things I said during citizen comments at the last meeting, how I said some things was not right. Some of the criticism was just too harsh. I apologize if I upset or offended anyone. If I hurt anyone's feelings, I am sorry. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Christensen. That is the only request I have for comments this evening, so we'll go on to reports that are in your packet. Committee reports, Police and Fire Commission, Dan? Nothing to add, okay.
Police and Fire, a little glitch here. We got the same minutes as last time. So there's a little breakdown.
Since then, so that's a repeat of what was previously submitted.
It says the next regular meeting will be on December 2nd. So was there
And
a
those
meeting
were the
on
meeting
December 2nd?
minutes that were approved. What meeting minutes does it list?
Well,
as
we
it-
got the minutes for November 5th,
Right,
2 weeks ago, and we got them tonight, too.
and I did not submit any
Okay.
previous meeting minutes.
So the meeting of December 2nd is not approved yet, or,
Correct.
okay. Thank you.
Nope.
Plan Commission, Dan? Water and Sewer Commission, Bonin, Killian, or Stockhausen?
Nothing to add.
Library Board, I have nothing to add. Parks, Forestry, and Recreation Committee, Seaboth Wilson.
Nothing to add?
Historic Preservation Commission, Killian.
No addition.
Redevelopment Authority, Dawes.
Nothing to add.
Other reports in the packet include department progress reports. Are there any questions or comments on any of those?
I would like to mention that absentee voting for the February 17th, spring primary, starts on Monday in the clerk's office. Our office hours are 8 a.m. to 4:30, Monday through Friday, so you can come in anytime during that time and vote.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on the department reports?
I have a little bit here. I'm trying to find material.
Okay.
Okay, I'm looking for the library report, and the library was talking about the redevelopment project. And today, I picked up this at City Hall, and I arrived late at the meeting on Wednesday night. So I'm assuming that this was not handed out Wednesday night, is that correct?
No, right.
Right, that was not handed out at the
Okay.
presentation.
And so I think it's good. Where is it available besides City Hall?
There are copies available at the library, and it's also posted on the city's website and the library's website.
Okay, my next question is, what's the future schedule, last page, or second to last page, as far as meetings that the public will be invited to? It says February and March, finalized plans present to Library Board and Plan Commission.
Right, those are tentative. We don't have dates set for anything. Those are just kind of the guiding factors that we know we have to get through going forward.
Will there be any meetings as far as similar to last week, Wednesday?
Well, Plan Commission does require a public hearing, so that will be something that we post and invite the public to come attend.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
That's it.
That's it? Okay. Then we'll go on to action items. The first one is Resolution 1502, Update Employee Handbook.
Yes, this issue was brought forward at our last meeting. There have been several changes since the employee handbook was last adopted by the council. Specifically, the city council in 2015 returned public employees to a 40-hour work week. We are also updating some of the definitions of department heads in the handbook. Some positions are no longer department heads. They've been readjusted and shifted through the organizational chart. And also there are some different regulations regarding Wisconsin's retirement system that needed to be updated in our employee handbook. Those changes are what's being requested this evening.
Questions, anyone?
I have one recommendation as far as change, and that's underneath Part 8, Employee Benefits, C, Wisconsin Retirement, and the first paragraph. I think there's a little bit of confusion there, so that I rewrote it with the help of some staff members. And my rewrite, or our rewrite, is as follows. All employees eligible according to Wisconsin Retirement System, in parentheses WRS, requirements shall be entitled to participate beginning the first day of eligibility. And I asked that the council could consider this because it's really not the first day of work, because they may have been working a number of times already, number of days, so that's really the first day of eligibility. So I'll read that again. All employees eligible according to Wisconsin Retirement System, in parentheses WRS, requirements shall be entitled to participate beginning the first day of eligibility. So that's my recommended change.
Was this resolution drafted by our city attorney?
No, I believe city clerk.
Jan drafted it, okay. I'm not sure if the language changes something that we would need to consider before we allow that change.
You're not eligible to be in the WRS unless you start your first day of work. So there's no eligibility option before you start work. I guess I don't understand the concern Mr. Killian has. It says in this draft that you're eligible to start the WRS on your first day of work. that seems
Well,
to,
but you told me last time that it had to be, it was changing from 600 to 1,000 hours
yes,
as far as eligibility.
but that,
So that's,
Yeah, you-
it's not, since they're working 600 to 1,000 hours, whatever, it's not their first day of work.
right, perhaps you're reading into this a little bit more than what was intended. For example, if you hire an employee and you know they're only going to be working for 400 hours, they are not eligible for the WRS. If you hire an employee who works full-time or is a permanent employee, they are eligible immediately on day one. You don't have to wait 1,000 hours before they become eligible for the WRS. So when you hire someone, you're asked to make a judgment as to the number of hours that position is going to be working. And it's done on a revolving calendar basis. So it's not January 1 to December 31st. The date can move so that it's always a full year. So if you hire someone on January 7th, it would go January 7th to January 7th to measure whether they intend to work 1,000 hours or more in that calendar year. So I guess to answer your question, Ken, it's a little more complicated than simply saying the day you're eligible. Oftentimes, employees are eligible the first day they work.
But sometimes they're not.
Depending on the position, that's
Yes.
correct. And that's why it's worded in a way that some employees, some positions, are not eligible for the WRS because we make the judgment as to how many hours that person is expected to work in a calendar year.
And just for clarification, if that judgment turned out to be incorrect, they actually worked enough to be qualified, then they are eligible.
That's
And they are
correct.
qualified.
That's correct.
Okay.
And their eligibility would go back to the
Yep.
first day they worked.
First day of work.
I think the key is the eligible employee.
Is there a dollar value as far as that goes? Or let's say someone's hired to work at 500 hours, all of a sudden they worked 1,000. Does the employee pay into this program, or does this just the city pay into the retirement fund?
It used to be the city paid both the employee and the employer portion,
Okay.
and now it's the employee pays the employee portion.
Okay. Then that person would have to go back and pay from day one he was hired, correct?
Yeah, but it's not typically this complicated. You know, I said earlier it was more complicated than what Mr. Killian suggested, but now I'd like to say it's less complicated than what Mr. Den is suggesting. Usually we know going into it how, if a position is seasonal, or if they're working 19 hours a week, we know that they're not going to hit the 1,000 hours. You can run into issues with seasonal if they're seasonal full-time and the calendar. This is why we have finance department professionals to manage our HR system. This is the recommended language from them. I think that this language is probably appropriate.
The odds of somebody going longer are pretty much nil, correct?
Well,
Most likely not gonna happen.
right, we're not going to set an employee up to have to go back pay, pay their retirement.
Right.
And it would probably be equally unlikely that an eligible employee would suddenly become not eligible.
Right.
So these would, I mean, you can't really say never, but, because things happen, but it would be unusual.
Right.
Well, I'm comfortable with the language, and I would make a motion that we adopt Resolution 15-02, updating the city employee handbook, department heads, business hours, and Wisconsin retirement as it was presented by staff.
Second that.
We have a motion and a second.
Well, I'm not comfortable, so I'll just vote against it. I consulted with staff, so
All right, we'll vote.
Nichols,
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson,
Yes.
Den,
Yes?
Doss,
Yes.
Stackhausen,
Yes.
Killian,
no.
Motion carries.
Next item is ordinance 1502, annexation rezoning 680 East Business Highway 151.
Yes, we received a petition requesting annexation of the property at 680 East Highway Business 151. It's on the northeast corner of Mineral Street and Business Highway 151. This petition was submitted by the property owners. There are no residents of that property. It's currently vacant. The property itself is that will be annexed is approximately 1.9 acres. It is contiguous to the existing city limits on two sides. The property owner has a developer that's interested in that property for a retail development if it's annexed. They would like to be able to connect to the city utilities, which is the reason for the annexation, and they are available to that property. If approved, they are also requesting changing of the zoning of that property from the current C1 commercial and the ET zoning to B3 highway business. That's the zoning for most of the properties along Business Highway 151. It is appropriate for that anticipated retail use, and it is in compliance with the comprehensive plan. So the request does meet the requirements of the statutes as far as the zoning and the annexation. Staff does recommend approval. The Plan Commission did consider this request at the January 5th meeting and recommended approval as well. We would, however, suggest that it be approved this evening subject to the state review. Since this is not municipally owned property like the last couple we've approved, they do have to do a review of this annexation. We have not received the final word from them, although in the conversations with them, we're not anticipating any problems with this. So, but I would suggest that it's be approved subject to state approval.
So the state has to approve it because it's owned by a private property. If we owned that land, then the state wouldn't have to approve it?
Correct. And also it's a requirement because we live in a county that has more than 50,000 population. If it was less than that, they do not do a review.
Very interesting. It's my understanding that there will be no driveway from this property onto either Mineral Street or onto Business Highway 151. Is that correct?
Correct. They've submitted a request for a certified survey map approval. That'll be going to the Plan Commission at their next meeting, and that CSM does maintain that restriction along those two street frontages. So the access will be coming from the existing driveway, which is actually on the property that's adjacent to the east. That's already a shared driveway. It will continue to be a shared driveway. They will widen it to accommodate the additional traffic. And that widening will take place as part of that development of this property.
So they'll widen the driveway.
Correct. They want to have the ability to have an entrance lane and then a left turn exit and a right turn exit.
Just for my information, Joe, when they widen that driveway, do they have to get state approval to widen the entrance out onto the highway?
No, that's under the local jurisdiction now.
Okay, thank you.
I only ask about that because I drive that every day, and even where that driveway is part of the turn lane from Business Highway 151 onto Mineral Street, and that gets, well, it gets pretty dicey there some days.
Yeah, and we made it clear with the proposed developer as well as the property owner from the beginning of the discussions that we didn't want to see any driveways any closer to that intersection.
Other questions or comments? Otherwise, sorry, that's information and discussion. No, it isn't.
No.
I'm on the next one already. Is there a motion?
Well, I will back Barb's concern about the driveway. That is a very busy turn lane right there, and there will have to be some work on that driveway to avoid a collision. To have somebody turning left going in and having somebody turning left coming out, there's gonna be something happening at that intersection. But I guess time will tell.
A motion.
I move to approve.
with the note that Joe made about subject to state approval?
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Nichols?
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Den?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Stockhausen?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Now information and discussion. Ordinance amending sections 201 and 203 due to the annexation of property municipal airport.
This is me, sorry. Last month, the city annexed the Platteville Municipal Airport into the city. And this property is non-contiguous to the city, which necessitates the creation of a new election ward number 9, even though there aren't any voters and will likely never be any voters. The property is currently located in County Supervisory District 15, and Grant County would like it to remain so. So they are in the process of amending their county supervisory boundaries description to reflect the direct annexation. So the intent of this ordinance is to create a new election Ward 9 with County Supervisory District Number 15 designation to accommodate the annexed property and make it part of the City of Platteville Aldermanic District Number 4. Any questions?
Question.
Do rabbits get, there's maybe some rabbits out there and squirrels.
All right. Next item is Chapter 31 Taxi Ordinance Revision. Howard?
Actually, I think Jan should take this one.
All right.
The intent of this ordinance is to clarify the language in our current taxi ordinance that shuttle bus and shuttle bus drivers, as part of the new Platteville transit system, will require a taxi license or a taxi driver license approved by the city. Previously, the university shuttle bus and driver were not required to be licensed. So this just clarifies that anybody who is for hire for the city needs to be licensed by the city.
Okay. Next item, ordinance amending bicycle parking requirements.
I'll take that one.
All right.
This is meant to be a clarification to our current bike parking ordinance, 22.9I1, which talks about when new buildings are constructed, the requirements of them for putting in bike parking. This is not meant to change the ordinance, but just simply the intent of the previous ordinance, but simply as a clarification how the ordinance is interpreted. The main change is within the C of there, which is states that bike racks, well, the suggested change is bike racks shall support a bicycle upright by its frame at 2 vertical points of contact. That clarifies vertical versus the old ordinance. And then it also states the purpose, which is to prevent the bicycle from pivoting or falling over, and providing examples of racks that currently meet that criteria. And I would like to correct that to say this criterion include the inverted U, A, and post and loop racks. It then provides a picture, and I should also mention I would like to scratch the alternate racks may be approved by the Community Safe Routes Committee. Other than that, if you have any questions.
You did say you were gonna scratch that last sentence.
I did. I think it's, the original intent of that was to provide for future change of some type. I think because 99.99% of all racks are going to be covered as it states, I just find it a little bit to be unnecessary.
Thank you, because that was gonna be my question. It's fine to have recommendations for governors, but not them to make the rules.
Sure.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Joe,
All right.
I believe this is
Oh.
a zoning ordinance.
This will go before the building and zoning before it comes to you for final approval.
Other questions? All right. Next item is a motion to go into closed session. There are 2 closed sessions scheduled, so please make your motion to reflect that.
I make a motion, we go into closed session per Wisconsin statute 1985, parent 1, parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. This is about possible land acquisition, and per Wisconsin statute 985, parent 1, parent C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, specifically review executive search proposals, and that after closed session, we return to open session for possible action on closed session items.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Nichols?
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Den?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Stockhausen?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, we are back in open session, and is there a motion?
I make a motion that the Platteville City Council engage Public Administration Associates for the city manager's search. Move forward with that proposal.
Second?
I have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Nichols?
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Den?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Stockhausen?
Yes.
Killian?
No.
Motion carries.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, and we'll vote.
Nichols?
Yes.
Seaboth Wilson?
Yes.
Den?
Yes.
Doss?
Yes.
Stockhausen?
Yes.
Killian?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.